You did this post, I want to say maybe a week or so ago, which I thought was so smart, where you talked about, I think, the 4 or 5 things, movements maybe, or
I can't remember now.
exercises. I gotta find it. But you talked about the 4 or 5 things that you should be doing as you are aging. And like one was like definitely a squat move or maybe a lunge move. And does this resonate? Are you remembering this at all? It was so good, but it's okay. You don't need to know the post, because what the real question is, what are the 4 or 5 things that women should be working on? You talked about goblet squats and barbell squats. So squats is a thing.
All right. So when I'm planning a workout, this is what, I do remember the post. The post is, what should you be looking for when you do a workout as a menopausal woman? Because what we know from exercise physiology is that the basics work. The basics will always work, whether you're a senior or a child, right? They work. But what happens is, through our life cycle, there's nuances and there's changes that we need to take into account. As we go through menopause and we go into like older age, there's certain things the body just doesn't do as well anymore. And so what we know that can help that through menopause are, one is strength training. Strength training is one. And then for sure, you've got like things that translate into everyday life, like squatting and hinging and pushing and pulling. The second thing is having really good core strength. And by core strength, I don't mean like, look at my 6-pack. What I'm thinking is, if you chopped my arms, legs and head off and you just left with a trunk, it's like that, what do you call a man with no arms, no legs and no head, Bob, in the water, Bob. It's like just the trunk, right? That's like your engine, that's your powerhouse. And so when you do any exercise, so when you're doing your squats and deadlifts and push-ups and anything, the core is where your stability comes from. And so even though you don't need to program it specifically, separately, I do, and often many people do, because it just gives you focus. Right. So like I'll do a workout and I'll make sure that there's some type of a core exercise in there, just so you can understand that it's not just the front that's working, it's everything. It's like your glutes and everything. So I have core functioning. Balance exercises is another thing, right? So the falling over and breaking our bones is like, it's preventable, right? It's completely preventable. 1 in 2 women we know post-menopause will break a bone. 40,000 a year will die from a result of breaking a hip. It's like shit, it's awful. So balance exercises, there was a study, and I have to try and recall it properly, where it showed that most women over the age of 50 can't stand on one leg for more than 30 seconds without falling over. And right. And balance doesn't just come from standing on your leg. Balance comes from, if you just did a regular, like lift your knee in the air.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Your foot has to work like crazy, because you've got all of your nerve endings on the bottom of your foot. And like, that's where proprioception comes from, like the idea you can feel what's happening.
Yes.
You've got to engage your inner thigh. You've got to engage your glute medius, which is the one on the side when you slap your thigh type thing. That's a stabilizing muscle. You've got to get your core engaged. You've got to use your arms to balance and stuff. So there's lots going on. You're not just standing on one leg. And actually working on balance as an older woman or a woman going through menopause and is so key to us catching ourselves when we fall and stuff like that, right? And it sounds really boring, but it really is helpful. And so if you like yoga, do yoga. If you like doing strength training, I do like loads of single leg exercises. In that book, there's loads of single leg exercises. And I don't mean your leg has to be in the air. It can even just be moving your foot out to the side slightly, so that the majority of the weight is on the front leg. And balance exercises is super key, as is working on posture. You need to constantly support your spine. Again, osteoporosis, health and injury. And then the last thing is plyometrics. And plyometrics is, I think, the one you're thinking of as well, because they know for bone health that actually when they had older clients, men and women, like drop from a bar, and it was like a 2 or 3 drop. They weren't like hanging in space, but they were like hanging from a bar, and they dropped like this far, right? You know, they just dropped and they just had to like impact when they landed. And they found that that was enough of a stimulus to create bone growth.
Wow.
So, right, so that's why it's super important. So there's loads of ways to help with bone growth. Strength training is definitely one, but if you can do things where you maybe hop from leg to leg or skip or something like that, running is not so much, it can be helpful, but it's not up there enough because you're doing too much on the certain part of the foot. It doesn't have as much of a stimulus.
Right.
But like adding some jumping in, like
Would
jump squats.
Something?
Yeah, jump rope, jump squats, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It's also good because you're going to be working a bit of extra cardio there as well, but it's just good for bone health. So looking for sort of like these little elements within your workout can be really, really helpful, and they don't have to be there all the time. But if you're doing something, you're doing a workout and you feel like you're doing lunges and you keep falling over all the time, that happens. Like there's a few things you can look at there. You can go, oh, am I actually engaging my core? Am I like really focused on using this as a full body exercise and not just bending my legs up and down? Is my posture good? Do I have like an upright body and my legs hip width apart? Like, so that's there. Or like, and then if I'm falling over too much, maybe I need to work on balancing. So instead of doing lunging, I'm just going to stagger my feet slightly and just focus on getting more weight on the front leg just to build up the strength in those stability muscles. And so there's loads of places you can do it. And